Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Janelle Slade.
And I'm Russ Riesinger. Tonight, court documents revealed the minutes and evidence found leading up to the murder of 57-year-old Lori Bray.
Today, her suspected killer, 22-year-old Diego Hernandez, appeared in Yellowstone County Justice Court, charged with 1 count of felony deliberate homicide.
The court documents show that Lori Bray's body, located just east of Laurel, was found naked, strangled, and her head had been beaten.
Now, the suspect's story changing with each encounter he had with law enforcement since Bray went missing last Monday. Q2's David J. was in the courtroom this afternoon and is standing by now with more details. David.
Well, Jeanelle, Russ, it appears Lori Bray was trying to do something nice. Today, the defense attorney asked for a lower bond while the prosecution argued otherwise.
The level of violence and brutality suffered by Ms. Bray is astonishing. This was a violent crime and her end was violent and awful. Additional charges may be forthcoming as additional evidence comes forward.
Yellowstone County Deputy Chief Attorney Ed Zink asked for a $500,000 bond, and Judge Walker agreed. Court documents state the 57-year-old Lori Bray died from strangulation and had blunt force injuries to her head. Bray gave the 22-year-old Diego Hernandez a ride home early in the morning on October 1st after work at the Cedar Ridge Casino. Her car was left at Buffalo Trail Road and Laurel Airport Road near the cemeteries. Blood was found on a car seat and on her clothes that appeared forcibly removed. Detectives later found that her body near Yard Office Road and Ridge Drive, about 3 miles from her car. Hernandez's face was covered in scratches, and he repeatedly changed the story when questioned, and he told investigators he did not harm Bray and provided a DNA swab before he was arrested on Tuesday night. Besides the bond, the judge also ordered several other conditions, including GPS and alcohol monitoring. Jeanelle, Russ?
All right, thanks, David. Well, the next scheduled court appearance for Diego Hernandez is in district court on October 23rd.
Man facing charges in the death of an infant that happened almost a year ago in Billings also appeared in court today.
29-year-old James Palmer was arrested this week in the case. He's charged with negligent homicide. Now, court documents state that Palmer told police he had put the infant, who was less than a year old, down for a nap and then discovered her unresponsive. A medical examination found the baby died of asphyxiation. Toxicologists also found the baby tested positive for methamphetamine and amphetamine. It's not clear why it took so long to bring charges in this case. Palmer's bond was set at $200,000.
Well, they were busted with 900 pounds of marijuana in Minnesota, but now 2 Montana men are off the hook after that huge seizure was ruled illegal and the charges dismissed. Jared Desroches of Missoula and Alexander Gordon of Helena were caught with the pot back in March, which had a street value of over $4 million. Trooper said he pulled the men over because of a cracked windshield and crossing the center line, and that he thought it was unusual to be pulling a camper that time of year. But video from the trooper's car showed that the vehicle had not crossed the line and that at least 5 campers had passed by during the stop. Prosecutors have 5 days to appeal that decision.
Well, now for a look at our weather scene, Ed McIntosh is in tonight, and Ed, this snow has completely ruined our fall colors.
All right, yeah, they're all on the ground now.
They are.
Yeah. Melanie Schwartz was by Q2 earlier today, and she shared this picture just out from outside our studio, all of the leaves on the ground, and she thought it made for a pretty scene, but all of it down there also reminds us of something else, that sometimes those could be a little bit on the slippery side as well. Here's some stopping distances at 40 miles per hour. On a dry road, it takes a car about 80 feet to be able to stop on those dry conditions. A wet road, that's about twice that, 160 feet. But on those wet leaves, it could be over 3 times longer to be able to stop your vehicle, and it makes it a lot slicker even when you're just going down the sidewalk. So enjoy the fall colors. You just have to look down for them this year. Take a look at some really cold overnight temperatures. That's up in a few minutes.
All right, thanks so much, Ed. Well, proposed Montana rules for disposal of radioactive oil field waste drew some heated discussion today in Helena. The new rules would make several changes. The one drawing the most comment at today's public hearing would quadruple the amount of allowable radioactivity in waste accepted at any licensed site. Environmental activists say this change would make Montana a, quote, dumping ground for radioactive waste produced in North Dakota oil fields. Now, people from across the state, including Catherine Card of Billings, say the higher limit isn't a good idea, and the state must take a more active role in monitoring these sites.
The greatest risk associated with adopting these draft rules is a seeming lack of will or ability of the Montana DEQ to effectively regulate the waste disposal sites. That's a huge factor in the success or failure of permitting waste disposal landfills to accept T-norm waste.
Now, there's currently only one location that accepts this kind of waste in Montana, and it's located north of Glendive. DEQ is accepting written comment until October 21st and then has 6 months to adopt the final rules.
President Trump returned to the campaign trail 2 weeks after House Democrats opened their impeachment inquiry. 2 associates of President Trump's personal lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, were arrested and charged with campaign finance violations. Nicole Kilman has more from the White House.
This feels like the day before the election.
In Minneapolis Thursday night, President Trump held his first campaign rally since House Democrats launched their impeachment inquiry.
The Democrats' brazen attempt to overthrow our government will produce a backlash at the ballot box, the likes of which they have never, ever seen before in the history of this country.
Earlier, as the president left the White House, he discussed the arrest of 2 men with ties to his private lawyer, Rudy Giuliani.
I don't know those gentlemen. Now, it's possible I have a picture with them because I have a picture with everybody.
Prosecutors say Lev Parnas and Igor Fruman helped arrange meetings between Giuliani and an ousted Ukrainian prosecutor who was investigating the company Joe Biden's son Hunter worked for. The indictment charged them with illegally funneling foreign donations to political campaigns, including $325,000 to a pro-Trump super PAC in a scheme to buy potential influence.
As alleged in the indictment, the defendants broke the law to gain political influence while avoiding disclosure of who was actually making the donations and where the money was coming from.
3 congressional committees have issued subpoenas for Parnas and Fruman, and they also slapped one on another member of the president's cabinet, Energy Secretary Rick Perry. The original whistleblower complaint that set off the investigation apparently references Parnas and Fruman as associates of Mr. Giuliani who were trying to make contact with the Ukrainian president. Giuliani's attorney told CBS News the indictment does not involve Mayor Giuliani in any way. He only knew them because they were his clients. Nicole Killian, CBS News, the White House.
The indictment also says Parnas and Fruman worked to influence the removal of former U.S. Ambassador to Ukraine, Marie Yovanovitch. She's scheduled to testify behind closed doors on Capitol Hill on Friday. However, it is unclear yet if the State Department will block her, as it did with European Union Ambassador Gordon Sondland earlier this week.
Former Senator and Ambassador to China Max Baucus took a trip to the University of Montana today to share his knowledge with future leaders.
Baucus was in Missoula to discuss foreign policies and how Montanans can get involved. He met with diplomat and author Michael Punka to discuss the tariffs on soybeans and wheat, as well as the political protests in Hong Kong. Baucus tells MTN News that while these policies might seem distant, their effects will impact people for many generations to come.
He says that's why they built the Baucus Institute at the UM to help educate people on the global economy.
So people in our part of the country want to go to for international relations or studying public policy, but with some special emphasis on China. And I say that because China is so going to determine our future. And we want to make sure it's determined in a way that makes sense to us.
Baucus served as one of Montana's U.S. senators from 1978 to 2014 and the United States ambassador to China from 2014 to 2017.
Still to come on the Q2 10 o'clock news, cancer certainly a word no one wants to hear, but a Kalispell hospital is making it easier for children to cope with the help of some furry friends.
Plus also tonight, Billings police to the rescue as they chase down some local sled dogs that escaped their owner's grasp.
And later in sports, hear why Jeff Choate thinks Saturday's homecoming game will be the Cats' toughest test so far.
You're watching MTN News with Janelle Slade and Russ Riesinger. Storm Tracker weather with Bob McGuire. And sports with Scott Breen. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.